Good afternoon, everyone. We're so glad that you all could be with us today. It really means a lot to us. We know this is a Saturday afternoon, and there's a whole lot of things you could be doing. So for you to show up with us today indicates that you have a real passion for children of East St. Louis and children in the surrounding area. So we want to thank you for that. My name is Alonzo Bird, and in addition to being chair of Eastside Aligned Stewardship Group, I am a proud graduate of the East St. Louis Senior High School class of 1975. And with me today is...
Hi everyone, my name is Shantae. Can everyone hear me good? Am I loud enough? Okay. Awesome. I too am a graduate of Eastside, class of 05. I'm just kidding. But I work as, I'm actually like on the support staff for Eastside Aligned, so I'm truly grateful to be here, and so also really happy to see so many familiar and unfamiliar faces for this purpose. And I don't want to, like, I know me and Alonzo shouted out Eastside. I know we do have Lincoln representatives possibly, and I know the history. I've been educated a few times on Lincoln and Eastside, so I want to recognize that we do have Lincoln representation on our staff, and we do appreciate the rich history behind Eastside and Lincoln. Very good.
So, well, and we also know that for those who've been around a little while in this town, that there were some private schools here that maybe St. Teresa's, for instance, or Assumption. So we know we're all about the community and the schools and all of that. And we also know that many of you who grew up in East St. Louis, but there are many of you who did not. And so we're thankful that you're here as well and have really become engaged in what we're doing here in the community. And truly trying to make sure that the community is together and we're building a stronger community. And that's what today is really all about. How can we bring people together to take some bold actions to really help our kids in this area? I know many of you will agree, right, that we can do much more together than we can by ourselves. Is that right?
Yeah. Right.
So we are here together to try and make a difference in our community.
I have a question. How many of you believe that we cannot create change for our young people without their voice and their leadership? True. So if anything is taken from today, we hope that it is that working together and youth leadership, those two things, those two statements have been the theme for us this weekend, and I can honestly say it's been the foundation of the Eastside Aligned movement.
And we all know that, well, working together, that's a nice concept, right? That we can all work together, but we all know, in relationships, sometimes it can be difficult, even with, your siblings, spouse, 36 years right here, co-workers, what have you, developing relationships and working together sometimes is not always peaches and cream. Sometimes there's going to be some friction and but if we have the same goal and intent in mind, we can work those things out and make things happen for us. And so today is what we're going to be talking about, the power of collaboration. I remember when I first started on Twitter, my handle was I connect and collaborate. So I'm always about collaborating with others and helping them to do their things. So today is about collaborating.
I agree. You're also going to experience the power of young people. Like, I have actually sat in on some of our, we have young people who've been convening and getting together, working towards a purpose, and I can honestly say we have some exceptional young people in this community. It touches my heart just to see, like, how they work together and what they develop when they're amongst each other, and they want us to work together to be able to provide this platform for them. So, can we just give it up for them? Like, children is what those 180 strategies were. The strategies range from reducing violence to improving transportation options to better opportunities for after-school programs. And some of the strategies can quickly be done while others may take more time and significant amount of resources. So our most valuable resources, I must say, is the passion and the talents of each of you. So since 2015, numerous individuals, coalitions, organizations have been working together to implement those strategies outlined in the roadmap. So this brings me to why we're here today. The community set on a course for a destination, and the people are moving steadily in that direction. However, we haven't did our best to engage or create the space for people to learn about the progress as well as the challenges that we've endured throughout this time. So, excuse me. As well as engaging more people in the work to be a part of the movement. So the purpose of this community forum is to inform, engage, and connect people with activities that will help achieve our shared goals for the youth. We will be holding forums twice a year to cultivate relationships, demonstrate shared accountability, and foster collaboration. And most of all, this is a place for us to rally for the well-being of young people. Like I can think, like when I was younger, having programs available to go to was really important because it gave me somewhere to go. So with us working together to provide those opportunities for the young people, we want to keep that going. Like we know how the streets are. We don't want our kids in the street, especially between 3 and 6. I think that's like the highest crime or whatever. So for us to work together and be able to provide a resource for our kids, amongst other things, is really important.
All right, let's give it up for Shantae.
Amen.
Okay, so now you know why you're here today, right? You know, we are going to be working together to help some changes, bring about some changes. So we're going to have some breakouts a little later, and we're going to have someone come and tell us about what those breakouts are about. But we want your thinking, we want your best input. You know, as Shantae said, you know, this movement, you know, is about the people and what the people are doing to help the community. And the people have to own it. You know, you really want something done, the people have to own what we're trying to do. And so we want to ask you, certainly once we've gone through the breakout today, that you stay with us, that you reconvene with us here and kind of give a little synopsis of how the day has gone. But now, it's enough time, you know, so much people and Shantae talking, we want to hear some of the voices of the community, right? And so, and again, Jessica Wormley is going to come up here later and tell us where it's going to break out. But for now, it gives me great pleasure.
Me as well, yes.
All right. The organizers of LOVE, which means leading our voices everywhere. So they are here to share their vision for change. So can we lead them forward?
I'm Adrian Marshall.
And we are the available members that we're here to attend in the Love Group. Now, we are leaving our voices everywhere, and we used to be actually well, we still are, but we used to be the Eastside Alliance Youth Internship Program. Now, the Eastside Alliance Youth Internship Program started off with just 5 of us. Then it got down to 3. Then it went up to 6, and then it went up to 8. And that group grew with more intelligence and more dignity than you probably ever consume in your brain ever. Let's just say that it was an interesting ride. Our goal was to make an event, and we were going to keep the name Eastside Alliance Youth Internship, but we got a little bit into it. We got a little bit connected to the role. And for once, we got a chance, to use our voices and our heads to do something we wanted to do. And so that one event happened last night. It was the Love Convention. And, oh my God, no it wasn't. I was joking. It was the Love Kickoff last night. It was an amazing event. And it was due to these wonderful minds here. This wonderful mind here. And don't forget, that wonderful mind back there. And there's another one over there, Rob. Hi, all. And he gave us the courage, the tools, and support we needed to make everything we know happen. And now I'm going to switch over to these guys so they can do a short recap.
Great. All right. So two of the main things we focused on last night would be trauma and wellness. I think it worked really well for all of the youth to come together and convene and to speak about what they have and not to speak about with other people, because youth is the future, and I think that they're an important part of our society. So last night we broke into groups and each. I'm loud and I'm well spoken.
Okay, speak up.
We got into groups last night and we were able to come to conclusions about many different things. Sexual assault, violence, all of these things that aren't talked about but should be talked about. And for those groups, Danye Lewis.
Yeah, specifically in my group, we talked about displacement and bullying and how, like, people can be affected in many different ways. Like, you can become violent or have low self-esteem. Some people are even suicidal, so we try to come up with ways to help the youth, like, figure out different techniques to stop bullying or help somebody feel like they fit in and without making a bigger problem. Because some people feel like if you step up, then you will become the next target for the bully. So we try to help them come up with different ways to keep themselves safe and other people too.
Alright.
And one of the other things we did was we sat in a circle and it was this story to see how their heads was with the system. So we put it in different contexts. It's a story about basically a king and his wife. He told his wife not to leave the kingdom or she'll be punished. She left anyway, and her punishment was basically death when she left. And she went to a friend for help. The friend wouldn't help her. She went to a boatman. He wouldn't take her across the river. And the person that she wanted to go see wouldn't help her. So the king, he kind of represented the system and the rules that we have to abide by. We have two choices to either go by the rules, and with African American people, most of the time it's death, or if you don't follow the rules. So we just have to see where their head was at and give an example of the system and how we face to deal with the system.
All right. All of this that we've talked about all comes down to the word power. Now, power has many different meanings. It could be internal, external, but we focus on internally. What does power mean to you?
Power, in definition, is being able to control something or having the ability or authority to control something. Power to us is the same, but a little bit different. We want to come together as a community and control our surroundings, control what happens to us and to the youth. And that sort of ties into wellness.
And our last session of the night would actually be wellness. Now, there is a system to oppress you. There is also problems that you can solve just by going outside and giving someone a handshake, a hug. There are many things in your life that can be dealt with, and simple things, but one thing that you need to do before you do any of that is take care of yourself. Now, wellness that we talked about was wellness sometimes on a budget, things that you could do for free, just a little bit of exercise. We played two extremely fun games. One was Extreme Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I would love to play that with you all, because you might have time. And then we played a game called Shoulder Tag. Those are very self-explanatory. You're right. And we also did a little activity of painting a perfectly healthy picture. And actually, everyone did not paint fruit. They actually didn't all paint vegetables. Now, there were a few who painted some amazing pictures of fruits and vegetables, and one of those pictures of broccoli had me salivating. But the rest of them were something completely different and unique to them, something that they pictured healthy. And it was interesting to see that someone actually just pictured a man outside running with his dogs as healthy. That's an image to him of being healthy in mind and body. And, whoa, okay, we want the that ones. And that night, it was pretty much in conclusion, then we had the raffle, and raffle was probably the funnest thing. See, people just love, it's amazing to see what people will choose. Now, when you give them a raffle and you say, come pick a prize, it's always interesting to see what kind of prize people will get, because sometimes they'll get a prize for themselves, sometimes they'll get a prize for someone else, and sometimes they just both want a prize. That almost never happens. It didn't happen last night, you know? And so after that, we had, and we did one more, and that's when we got the shoulder tag. Shoulder tag was probably the true, it let it sink in. Being healthy, being active, being able to move, take care of yourself, doesn't always require a lot of money. I mean, you have to feed yourself. Anyone who doesn't feed themselves is a human. I stand by that, and I would fight anyone who says otherwise in order debates. But otherwise, it's more of a thing that you have to put into your mind and then act on. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't try to help everyone else when you can't even help yourself. And that's the kind of idea that we want to implant in their mind. And I think every one of them left with something new in their head, something they realized that it was always there, their voice, that they realized it was always inside of them, and they can speak out about things, and things that normally they would keep inside themselves. And I hope that they are having a wonderful day today. I know I am now, and it was wonderful talking to you all, and we all love you, leaving our voices everywhere.
Depression, it talks about power, both internally, externally, and wellness, right? How to make sure that they're physically prepared to even go out there into the world and lead, right? So today we are all about youth, so we got to have our youthful spirits as we go into the rest of these sessions. So we're going to start off with just a little quick activity. So I'm looking for people with free hands who can catch this ball for me. You guys are too far. I'm going to get to you. I'm going to start here, and then we're just going to work our way back. So if you could read the question that your thumb lands on, either one, and project so we can all hear you.
What about today are you excited for? I'm excited to make connections and to meet some of the other collaborators and presenters today.
All right, and then can you toss to somebody else?
Cool. I have a free hand. That's really far.
Right, we need to get halfway there.
What do you love about Greater East St. Louis?
And what do you love?
I love the community, just in the spirits of just every individual here, in the youth, specifically because you see their gifts and you see their potential, and just, you know, they have a hope.
Let's work our way back this way.
You ready in the back? You ready?
What does community mean to you? Well, community to me isn't necessarily a neighborhood, isn't necessarily a group of buildings put together where everyone lives close to each other. That's me. But community to me is more people who actually do anything for each other based on a sense of safety and love.
All right. Do one more.
Three kids you care about. Okay. My younger brother Willie, my cousin Anaya, and my little sister.
All right, thank you. Hang on to that for now. We'll get back to it. All right. So today is really about learning more about the work of Eastside Align, which is all of us, right? The heading to this is we are all Eastside Align. So Eastside Align isn't an entity, it really is the people and the work, right? So today, you'll get to choose 2 breakout sessions to learn about some of the work that Eastside Align is doing, and the people of Eastside Align, right? And in each of these breakouts, you're gonna hear from different people doing work in the community, so, and people who live here, right? Because the work is really directed by residents, people who live here. So, in a moment, I'll direct you to those, but in your program is a list of all of those breakouts. So, after we leave the gym, you'll go to your first one, and then after that, you'll go to your second breakout, and then we'll meet back here in the gym, all right?
a couple more instructions for you all.
Oh, and again, my name's Jessica Wernley. I'm one of the organizers of today. If you have any questions, you can find someone with a lanyard with the volunteer name tag, and they'll direct you. So today, as it says on top of your program, is about learning, connecting, and engaging. So as you're in these rooms, make sure you're listening for ways to get plugged in, right? Like, how can I get plugged into this work? How can I get involved? If you're not already. And also, make sure you speak up, because today we want to give you information, but we also want to hear from you, right? So make sure that you give some feedback, ask questions. Say, have you guys thought about this, right? Because we're looking from direction from all of you as well, okay? You don't have to search for it now, but in the back of your folder behind your program, there are pinkish red evaluation forms. So these are really important because we are going to do these twice a year. We want to get better and better every time. So your evaluation form lets you evaluate each session. So after your session, take a couple minutes to write some feedback. And then it also has some feedback for how the day overall went. So hang on to those, fill it out throughout the day, and you'll hand them in at the end. So you can't go to all 4 sessions, but we are going to make sure that all the handouts are available to you. So at the end of the day, we'll have them all out on a table out here outside the gym. So if you want to look and see what handouts were in the different sessions, you can grab those, all right? So during your sessions, there are 3 things to listen for. Listen for how people are collaborating, right? This work takes partnerships. We can't do it on our own. So listen for all the different ways that people are collaborating. Listen for how residents can be involved, right? We want to make sure that residents are engaged and leading the way. So listen for different ways that that's happening. And what is being achieved? What's being done? This work is really hard. It's long-term, and we're never going to fully, well, in our time, we're probably not going to see everything we want, but there are little wins along the way, right? So what's being done here and now? So listen for those 3 things. So in a moment, I'm going to have you all head towards your breakout rooms, and we will have volunteers leading you along the way, pointing out which rooms to go for. The responding to stress and trauma is directly across from the gym. Promoting food justice is directly across from the gym as well. Advancing early learning is down the hall, and supporting out of school time is down the hall. All right? Any quick questions before we leave? So remember to speak up and find ways to get connected. And at the end of the day, we're going to send everybody off with some pizza. So, you know, a little incentive to stick around, right? All right. Go ahead.
So Jessica, these workshops are going to be presented twice.
Yes. So each workshop is going to be presented 2
One thing I wanted to tell you all before we get started is you have a handout at your seat that has a couple Post-it notes on it. The training that was originated by the school district and the union was brought to us by IFT. IFT called local school district, the union, and said, would you like to use this in your school district? We believe it's something that would benefit all of the schools in East St. Louis School District 189. The union took it to the school district, and we sat down and had a meeting with them. In order to make it all happen, we needed assistance with funding, and that's where Eastside Line plugged in. Yes, we want this for you. We want to help you make this happen. So our training within our school district by the union was helped come about by Eastside Line. So that's another reason why they're on our. There it goes. All right. The ultimate goal of the partnership. Use that one. Okay, it's going backwards again. I go backwards a lot. Sorry. The ultimate goal of the partnership between the East St. Louis Federation of Teachers Union, the IFT Illinois Federation of Teachers, District 189, and Eastside Line is to share how supporting a trauma-informed community through trauma-informed schools comes about. Our objectives of this session, we have 3 main objectives before you leave the session, is that you will know what trauma is and how it impacts brain development and learning. That's the part that some of us do not realize, is that trauma actually changes the brain and how the students then are able, or the children are able to go through their day-to-day life. To explain to you why East St. Louis Federation of Teachers and District 189 are coming together to build trauma-informed schools. And finally, to provide guidance on how community members can get involved. So first of all, what is trauma? Here's our definition of trauma that we start with. Trauma describes a response to an experience or experiences, such as exposure to violence, that are so stressful they overwhelm a person's ability to cope. Trauma, the most important thing is to remember here, trauma is not the event. It's not what happened. It's how that person copes or responds to it either physically or psychologically or both. Okay? Risk factors. The above risk factors that are listed here increase the likelihood that an individual will experience trauma in their lifetimes. Their gender, a disability, poverty, their age, their race and ethnicity, an intimate partner violence, family alcohol problems or drug use, or prior victimization. And when we go to intimate partner violence, it can take the form of physical, which seems to be obvious, but the verbal is in there as well. You don't want to forget about that. Sources of trauma, ACEs. There's a lot to say here about the ACEs. ACEs are adverse childhood experiences. Before I talk about them, I want you to know that these came about this list of things came about based on a study done in 1998 by Drs. Valetti and I always mispronounce her name, so I look to see if I did it right. From the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, suggests that certain experiences are major risk factors. And the more of those experiences that the child has, the greater their risk of trying to be affected by trauma come about. So those experiences are physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional neglect, physical neglect, mentally ill, depressed, suicidal person in the home, drug addicted or alcoholic family member, witnessing domestic abuse against a mother, loss of a parent to death or abandonment including divorce, or an incarceration of a family member. You see the last one has an asterisk by it because another research suggests that it should also be added to it, and that's the systematic oppression based on racism and discrimination. Now, the more ACEs a person has, that's called the child's ACEs score.
So, if you look at this list and you just ask yourself, have you experienced these things, or do you know someone who's experienced these things? So it can be direct or indirect. If your score is above a 4, so 1 point for each one you've experienced, or you know someone who's experienced that, if your score is above a 4, you have a higher risk of certain diseases. And for a child, that also affects you can determine whether or not they will graduate high school based on their ACE score.
So based on what she said, the majority of children, after experiencing trauma or traumatic event, will return to normal functioning after several weeks or several months. But a substantially minority of children develop severe, acute, or ongoing physiological symptoms, including PTSDs, all right? Many variables determine on how a child responds to the exposure to violence, and that's the characteristics of the actual traumatic event, the child themselves, and that's when we think of these, how much of this they've already experienced, okay? And then their environment.
I'm not participating in that. And if they do come and they're offering me $100, I say, okay, give me the 100. I just start checking off some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And not receiving any response for its input, right? So all the data is there, but the people aren't getting any results of that. So there is an apathy. There is a lack of interest in it. There is a whole attitude about it doesn't matter, right? And so we have to overcome that. And part of that is legitimate, because if you've gone through all those things, and I'll just mention this right quickly. I was part of a study that happened with the school district, not to pick on the school district, but I think it's a perfect example. The study came back basically and said, look, in order for you to be in East St. Louis, if you were a single parent household, I think if you were a single parent with 1 or 2 children, you needed to have about $19 an hour or $38,000 a year. Take a 2,000 hour man year and multiply that times 19 and get $38,000 to have a quality life in this area. So we have a vocational school, right? Now in jobs, these are jobs that people, that is going to be their careers forever. The max payout for the end job that they're training you for the vocation is $12 an hour. Now the study said you needed $19, but the result is you're going to make $12. Where you making up the other $7 an hour at? Where that's coming from, right? So we live on the Mississippi River. 65% of all goods pass our port. We're really a port city. Either by rail, by road, or by river. We have no education on topology for the river. We have no education on navigation. We have no education on boat development, on ship development, on ship building. We have no education that tells us how to build rail. East St. Louis is a depot. That means all the rail that comes to the southern part of Illinois comes to East St. Louis. And yet we have no education that teaches us how to manage that, how to do that, how to work on those. So if you're going to do something vocational, for instance, an underwater welder starts out at about $45 an hour. Gets up to about $65 an hour to learn the weld underwater, right? And we got all these ships passing us all the time. So I say that to say, again, we got these studies, we got some wonderful things happening, but at the end result of that, we don't get it. Now, this last point is for us. Those of us that are working in the community, those of us that are inputting ourselves. One of the biggest hazards, one of the biggest challenges I think we have is this, one of the most paralyzing of all the challenges is a pessimism. Born and rooted in hopelessness, helplessness, incompetence, and an acceptance of the myth that in times things will get better. Time is neutral. Time gives of itself equally to the good, to the bad, to the ugly, to the indifferent. Time gives of itself to the just or the unjust. Time just keeps doing what time do. And whoever is working in time, those are the ones that are getting the results.
To work with our kids in the city of East St. Louis, they need to see that. They need to see more intentional learning, intentional play, intentional, just everything positive, intentional. If I could share a personal story, because I know our kids learn not just from paper, not just from books. They learn from being around our staff. They learn from being around you. They learn from being around just general people. And they really learn from TV. So let's show them those positive things. I recently lost my daughter. And I took some time off from work, and I really did miss all the kids at the centers. And they missed me too. I really didn't leave the house much. And all of the kids made me cards at all of the centers. All 5 centers really thought about me. And I read each and every last one of them. But what really made me feel so good is the comments that the kids were making. Oh my God, they really touched my heart so much. Some of them, and I know they listen to me. I know that what I put in them, what I'm sharing with them is really affecting them. I had one of the comments say, you know, Miss Pumpkin, it's okay because you believe in God. So she's still living. And I shared that with them through Bible study at Griffith Center. So I know that they felt it, and they know the value in making the other person feel good because of my intentional sharing and loving that I put in there. If I could end, I would end with a quote that we have up at our learning labs. If you can't teach our kids the way they should learn, we got to start learning the way they can teach. Am I saying right, Michelle? If we don't teach the way they learn, the way we think they should learn, we got to be figuring out a way to reach them. And that's all the perfect staff could do. All what we should try to do every day that we walk into those after-school programs. Make it count. That's it.
So just to really quickly wrap this up and tie this activity back to what we talked about at the beginning, we're continuing as a team and as a group of organizations to learn and understand what are the things that folks that work in after school and summer programs want to be learning, knowing that a lot of the things up here are personality traits, but there's also a lot of things that we can be coming up with new ideas for fun activities and games and ways to teach reading and teach math, and skills that we can all be growing and learning together. And so Hannah does a lot of that work, Hannah S does a lot of that work to support folks who work in after school programs. And so all of this information will go back to our development of what trainings are offered to adults in after school programs. Another way that we support folks who work in after school is through a monthly youth development network meeting. And so our next one is actually on in just a couple weeks on November 29th from 10 to 12 right here at JJK. And at those meetings, anybody is welcome. If you don't work with young people, that's okay. If you still want to come and learn together and meet folks, please feel free to join us. But they're really built for people who are working with young people to be building relationships with one another, learning new things, and really strengthening the quality of our programs through interacting and building relationships across organizations. So if you would like to be, so we got your information when you came in the building, but if you want to get information specific to youth development and after school programs, please write your name and your email as you head out. But again, that next opportunity to engage is November 29th from 10 to 12. And other than that, we just hope that when you leave here today, you can share with others the importance of after school, whether it be other parents, young people, people who fund programs, people who work in programs, share with them why this work is important, and spread the word about the great programs that exist here in East St. Louis, which again are on the back of your handout. All right, thank you all so much. I think we have about 5-ish minutes to transition to the next work.
Parent of a parent group called Parents United for Change, down in East St. Louis, Illinois. And we are, like I said, we're a parent group that was brought together by an organization called COFI, which stands for Community Organizing and Family Issues. We came together through a leadership training to work on issues in early learning. We worked as parents, investors in the community, statewide, in a community-wide screening, to increase awareness on screenings for children ages 0 through 5.
Hi, my name is Gloria Hicks. I'm also part of Parents United for Change and also another in Gainesville shops.
I'm also one of the parents of Parents United for Change. My name is Joan.
My name is Esther Beard, and I'm a community organizer for COFI, Community Organizing Family Issues. And we work with parents to, we did the training for parent ambassadors, and we work with them to empower them and help them find their voice and get involved in their community.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline. Jacqueline Vasquez from Erickson Institute. I'll be talking a little bit about data in a moment.
Okay, so to get started, we're going to do an activity. We're going to ask that you pair up with someone, and we're going to give you 2 minutes to tell them a little bit about yourself and what you know about early learning programs. So as one partner talks, the other one listens. And then when I say switch, the other partner that talked listens and the other one talks about what they know about early learning. Okay, so you can go ahead and start.
Yes, I have one to see you right there. So we introduce our guests. Yes. And the next question is, what do you know about early learning?
Yeah. I know very much. So I know that it makes a difference between success and
Speaking English also
Good. Let me see. Actually, the person I was talking to is her husband.
Right, she had the white man.
Also, he's the chairman, so that's really interesting. And, we related on a lot of things, when he said that, the early detection, using these tools now so that way we can be successful later on down the line.
And Jennifer shared with me, what I had already heard about the early childhood program at Vivian Adams School. And all good. And, I was pleased because, her son, daughter.
A son.
Your son is there?
Yeah.
Okay, her son is there, and she, shared with me the strict, or should I say, the discipline and the information that they're demanding that the children know. And I know that when children are that young, they can learn very fast. So, yeah, so all good things going on there. Now, I don't know if she's gonna say this about me.
Well, do you want me to? I will.
The main thing.
Miss Radina?
Yeah.
We were talking about, the education, just indoctrination and how, what we're taught isn't helpful for our communities, sometimes, and just like wanting to, I don't know how he said, like re-educate what we're learning and the lens that we're kind of seeing it through, I think is very true.
So can I ask you,
Yes.
what does that look like for early learning?
That's where we get that information. The information really starts in the home, that whole brainwashing aspect, destroying the black child. Everything that the, shall I say, the miseducated have learned, they tend to teach it. Maybe not everything, but I think the large majority of it is definitely passed on. And I think that component is harmful. I did share with her that I ventured into one of the schools, it was Miles Davis, when they had a 5-year-old was there, and the children were walking with their hands behind their back. To me, that reminded me of from the schoolhouse to the jailhouse pipeline.
Mm-hmm. So that might be like thinking about a culture change.
Definitely. And in doing that, we would have to go back to some of the roots, that culture that was stripped out of most of our ancestors when we came over during the transatlantic slave trade.
Anybody else? What did you learn? What did you know about early learning? Did you hear something new? Marie?
I learned, the purpose of a screen. I'm always leery when they start talking about we're screening, because I wanna know, okay, what are you screening for? And what are you doing with the information once you get it? Because I know in the past, screening has been used to track out kids in lower tracks. But, this screening is to help with development and teaching so that they're ready for kindergarten.
grandsons over at Vivian Adams, by the way, so I think they're great too.
Anybody else?
Obviously, I learned that even as an experienced mother, with a 17, 18-year-old, now has a 4-year-old, that it's never too late to learn about these issues when a child is
Thank you very much. We did this activity to kind of get you guys to start thinking about early learning and what we know about early learning. And we heard some great points. It's never too late to learn about early learning. We should do something with that slogan. I really like that. It might be somewhere. But and we also heard about a culture change. So how do we support our young ones culturally so that they're ready to learn? So early learning in East St. Louis has been promoted throughout the community by the Greater East St. Louis Early Learning Partnership. And this partnership is a collaborative of a lot of early learning providers and organizations that work together to provide access and resources to families with children prenatal to 5 years old. Some of those partners are Healthy Start, and they do prenatal programs. Leslie Bates, Vivian Adams from District 189, Preschool for All programs. Just naming a few, because there's quite a few that are partnered up. SIU Early Head Start, too, is another one. And the early
And we understand what's going on with kids in school, how we can carry that over into what's happening out of school, that kind of thing. And then we also want to make sure that programs are bringing youth voice to the center, that decisions that are being made aren't happening without young people being involved in what those decisions are. So that's some of the work that we do. Hopefully you all are equally excited about it and are going to get involved. I'm going to pass it back over to Hannah to tell a little bit more, and then we're going to do an activity because it's not school time, so right? You can't just sit and listen. As we talk about a network of programs, the numbers that you see up here are just right now the countable ones that are engaged in that network, and not the limit to how many there are in this community. But when we talk about our out-of-school time network in East St. Louis, we're talking about around 25 different program sites where kids can spend their time, 150 plus folks who work in those programs with young people. So that's a pretty big community of people who are supporting youth, and at least 2,000 young people that participate in those programs in kindergarten through 12th grade. And when we think, we're going to dig a little bit deeper today into this part, the 150 youth development staff. So over the past 3 years together, these 25 program sites have been committed to having shared training and shared learning opportunities. And what we know from talking to folks who work in after-school programs is that they want to be continuously learning, and they want their staff to be well supported so that they can be the best at their job that they can be. So we're going to do an activity today that Alexandra is going to share with us and walk us through. But before she does that, I do just want to mention, in case anybody's sneaking out, we got your contact information when you walked in, but we would love to get the folks that are really interested in out-of-school time on a separate list too. So we'll have a sheet of paper at the table as you walk out to just jot down your name and your email. So I'll pass it off.
Okay, guys, so my real name is Alexandra, but if you call any one of the Griffith Center sites, they know I'm Alexandra, but they're gonna be like, it's gotta be a bill collector. No, I'm just playing. I'm crazy. Okay now. No, but everybody calls me Miss Pumpkin, and part of that is because I'm like the super staff. I give myself that title, but it's true. So when we talk about these 150 youth development staff people, we gotta keep that in mind for all the kids in East St. Louis. What type of staff do you want the kids of East St. Louis to walk into? there is a certain standard that should be set, and we, at these 25 sites, we're trying to come up with a book or a definition of what that quality standard will look like. So we want you guys to help us out, because I don't know what that perfect person will look like if it's not me. I mean, I can't go to all of the centers and be there all of the time. So we gotta get.
She tries.
I tried. They tried to make me do it. I really tried. But there is a perfect staff, and we know that we are on to something at Eastside Alliance, at River Center, at CSC, and all of the people that network and collab with us. We want our kids to have a good experience. So if you notice, there are people on your tables. We have some perfect paper people on the tables, and we want you guys to help to build the perfect staff, because we know you got it in you, but we want to know what you expect when your kids walking into the CAC, or they walking into JJK, or they walking into a disgruntled staff, or they walking into a staff that don't even know how to do this new Common Core that's driving everybody crazy, that's making us think our teachers are not doing their job. I just want to give a shout out to teachers. They get the raw end of it. Coming from being the education part component too, I was in Head Start for over 11 years. Our teachers get a bad rap. They're like, oh, they're not teaching our kids. I left the Head Start and I went to with Griffin full time, and that's that I was the education advocate. So I was actually in the schools. I'm in the trenches. I see the hard and dedicated work that our teachers are doing, and they're making it fun too. Mm-hmm. They are really trying their best. So let's give it up for the teachers. Yeah. But with the help of Eastside Alliance, I don't have to run and be at all schools every day, all day. Kind of miss it though. So all I do is go to meetings, it seems like now. So I'm missing the schools actually, but I want your guys' help. We don't have to split into groups. Maybe our smaller tables you could join in and make a nice filler at one of the tables that don't have enough, and we can just come up with the perfect staff person that you would like to see in youth development at the center of your kids, your grandkids, or you would like to go to. Oh, here we go, here we go. I say we got you back in the bed. Competition is on. Because I can't see. I'm exposed to me. See, Zach knows what's up. She's on the end. You know. Love it. Come on. That's what I'm talking about.
Like what makes them, and I would even put with that, what makes them because you're dealing with kids that learn differently.
You need someone that will embrace change.
I would like to say,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where am I going to ask? Exclamation.
I would say piggybacking off of that, like yourself, by being a lifelong learner, I would say fear was
supportive,
someone who's
like problem solver, but someone who it's just like I didn't even know I went to sleep.
Very intuitive.
I was gonna say another one. That's I was gonna say along with that, like discerning, kind of like knowing your kids.
Hey, Miss Metro Group is going to be the first group to share. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Miss Misha. Did y'all have a spokesperson?
I'll be our spokesperson. Thank you.
Okay. Let's give it up for the birthday group.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll share with you what we earlier. Okay, Bill and I are gonna go. So we're gonna talk about inside and you do the outside. So first of all, foremost is love. That people enter this workspace with love in their heart and they're aware of that. And high vibrations, like anybody who's been around people with high vibrations, you recognize it. And likewise, low vibrations is not a good thing. High energy, purely motivated. Why are you really there? And who is it about? We all say, oh, I'm doing this to, no. If you're not doing it for yourself, if you're not doing it for yourself because you love it, you're probably in the wrong business. Because you think you're doing everybody a favor. It's not about that sometimes. Okay, understand the why you're there. Embrace change. Able to embrace change. A purpose. Are you purposeful in your work? Flexible. A sense of humor, that's a good one. Relatable, able to relate to people. Be brave and fearless. You have to be brave and fearless if you're going to be working among this society. Have self-confidence. Understanding non-judgmental. If you can put that aside and let people be who they are and accept them, that's halfway there. Relentless and tenacious, that's right. Keep at it, because everyone knows how easy it is to give up. And you can't be giving up on these kids because it happens every second of their life that people give up on them. Inspirational, honest, a person of integrity, trustworthy, innovative. Oh yeah, innovative. Because if you keep doing the same old thing keeps happening. Playful, we have to have a sense of humor and be playful. Self-confident and have self-knowledge and awareness. Who are you really? What do you know about yourself? Because you think you're going to be teaching other people, but you better figure out who you are first and not always who you think you are. And compassionate. Okay, so those are, and then you're going to do the outsides.
Okay.
Those are the tools.
I think I've always been wanting to get in a forum where you really want to figure out, it's like when we have our students to graduate, what do you want your graduate to look like? Mm-hmm. So I always look for ways to figure that out. I'm the science teacher at an alternative program here in East St. Louis. So I get all the kids that are having issues everywhere else. So we have to be all of this stuff at some point. But thinking through this, and also, just so you know, you may hear about this later, but we're piloting a program for the state of Illinois called competency-based education, which is totally a new framework for learning. We're doing the pilot, and my class is the one that's doing the pilot program. So I've been thinking in a way to get the students to be, we talk about confidence and all that, well, that's what's embedded in competency-based. And because of my background, I think this is well suited for me because I'm a retired person from the military. But don't be grumpy. You want to make sure when you come to a place, you don't have those negative vibes. Communicate. You must be able to communicate. Problem solver, collaborator. You got to work with people and have that skill. Empathetic. What is that? Empathetic. You got to sometimes walk in another person's shoes. Empowering. You want to make sure. And this is the hardest thing for me as a teacher, is to turn that power over to the kids. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest thing to do, but we're heading in that direction. Be able to impart knowledge. That is when we talk about the depth of knowledge, the depth of learning. You want to be able to give them the kind of knowledge so that they can transfer that knowledge and apply it to something else. So that's getting to be where you had critical thinking somewhere over here. And then able to receive feedback and accept criticism, thick skin. People are going to criticize you no matter what you do, good or bad, you're going to get criticized. And this one is a learner and continual learning. I've been learning all my life. I'm 61 years old, and I just went back through a doctorate program at McKendree. So crazy, but I did. Critical thinker, good listener, has a toolkit, and that is so important. The kids need a toolkit, and when I say a toolkit is be able to separate your feelings from your thoughts, and that is a major milestone. If a student learns how to do that, then they don't get upset for everything they hear, and you learn how to live and let live in a way. But you got to have a toolkit to do that, and emotional intelligence. I said something over here, and then they put that up there. I was trying to figure out how they tie together. But I was just thinking about that emotional intelligence. That's just what I just said. Separate your thoughts from your feelings, and you'll be just fine.
We're running out of time, so, the spokesperson, can you please just, hit about 3 key components from your.
Maybe some things you haven't heard yet, or the most important things from your group.
Who wants to go next?
So my group, I have to do this real fast. Throw it up here. I think they pretty much nailed them all, but I would say to add on to that is just being innovative. So, you know, when you're coming through, you know, and you're engaging the youth, it's like it's a new generation. They have different things that they enjoy, different, you know, technology. And so we need to be innovative in how we relate to our students and be willing to step into their world. So even as a teacher at Lincoln, they like to play nitro type. And so I get on that game with them, or I just find ways to engage them. And I'm in that process of figuring out how to, you know, open up more doors through what they enjoy. And then the next thing is, I would say, empowering. So you need to empower our youth. We need to give them, like everybody's been saying, a voice. And we need to be an encourager of the things that we see in them so that they can develop, you know, that confidence in themselves. Because really all we're doing is identifying what is already in them.
What's there?
Yeah, exactly. What's already there. We're not bringing anything extra. We're just saying, I see this in you, and you need to just keep believing that as you invest into these different things and make decisions, you're going to see those things develop and flourish and grow. And I just agree also with the thick skin, and also just being able to say, hey, I'm gonna have fun with these kids and not taking anything too serious, and just being able to be relaxed and be able to have fun. And really not to come down hard on them, because sometimes we could just be like, oh, they need to change, you need to do this, when it's just like, we were young too one time.
Well.
Sometimes we forget that. And so I think that's one of the biggest things.
The most important thing is.
Oh yeah, my bad. Hey, we almost just wrote Miss Pumpkin over the whole thing. We wasted our time, but that's enough.
3 more minutes.
Oh wait, hold on. One more. Sorry, self-care and balance. That's huge.
Oh,
Because a lot of people can burn out if you're not taking care of yourself. You're just investing, and then you look back and you're like, where's my everything else that I'm pouring into? So,
Well, we don't have much, but I want to say one thing. We come in plan on using all these tools for our kids, but we always miss that one thing of being students of the craft and being always open to learn. And that was my biggest thing I learned when I was working with these kids was I grew the most. I learned the most from them. And so as I began to grow from them is when I became better and better at the craft. So I put these up here, we put these up here due to the fact that that's the most important part, is to be able to hear them. If we don't know what they need or what they want, they're just feeding them peas. They're gonna spit them back out. You know, so that's one important thing, being open-minded, because there's a new generation. We did things one way, they're gonna do things differently. We need to be able to articulate what's taking place and be able to wrap it up and paint that great picture, and be able to be open-minded to how they learn and how they respond to certain things. We need to be authentic, we need to be real and transparent. I found that being transparent with my students would allow me to be real and allow me to make better decisions in my life, so that I can be able to pour into them and not be embarrassed everything I do. Okay, so being authentic and real. Definitely everybody know we gotta be caring. That's the only way they're gonna be able to continue to come to us. We need to be wise and excited about learning. So we need to be able to be wise about how we approach them, because one student might need that soft, compassionate love, where the other one might need that hard, tough love, and we need to know when and where and how to go about doing it and how to approach it. What we have? Clean hands. We need to wash our hands. we need them to wash their hands, you know, because we're gonna hold hands. We're gonna lock hands. Yeah, but clean hands means to be gentle and you be compassionate in approaching and have open hands to be able to receive them. And patience, we gotta be patient. We gotta be willing to hear them out, because they don't know how to articulate. They don't know how to communicate the way that we feel like they should. So we need to give them time to vent, and then let them take back some of the stuff they said and reapproach it, because it may take them 4 times to actually get out what they're trying to tell you. So don't judge them and don't take in the first thing that they say. Give them time to correct it. So hear the whole story. So be patient, able to set boundaries. Set boundaries, because they're gonna be jumping all over you. They're gonna be coming to you about stuff that you're gonna be like, we don't have consent for that. You know, let's get the parents involved. Let's sit down with the parents. Let's get them in the room and let's do that and be able to do that. So you have to have a relationship with the parents. I sat with a parent the other day and talked about some personal stuff about one of the students. So what? Last one.
Pick your favorite.
Love everybody. Be happy, be exciting, and always outdo this young lady.
You can try.
Also, a lot of things that everybody else said, we'll start from the top. That eyes, we want everybody to be attentive, just like really see what's going on with the kids that they're involved with. Want to be friendly, so you want to have a smile, you know, actually be warm and open to them. Of course, you gotta have a heart, you gotta have love. We put spiritually motivated, but at the very least, you have to have, like, you know your reason for being in front of these kids, because we know it's not gonna be easy day after day. We want everybody to be patient. Also, just another housekeeping thing, we don't wanna see people with their phones out all the time, you know, around our kids. Like, be there for the children, be there for them, not for, you know, your Snapchat or whatever. Be present. So, you know, we said they want to have people in their lives that are coming to help them and not just there one day and they show up, you know, 2 months later. You know, you want everybody to be consistent. Quick thinking, because, you know, our kids, they are special. They say you got to have a thick skin, and you got to be like right there with them in the trenches, you know, talking, you know, their own language, and also being able to impart your wisdom on them too. And, of course, being respectable and everything else, you know, pretty much everybody said just as well as we have. So I think that's all we have.
Thank you.
So if we could do anything, we would combine all of our paper staff into one big group, and it would look just like me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Right. How's everyone feeling?
Good.
Tired, okay? Feeling good? All right. So I have another basketball for us. So, same thing. A couple questions on here a few times to make sure we answer it a few times. But I'm going to toss this around, and whatever question your thumb lands on, either one. That's the one you answer, all right? Do we have enough energy for this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you got your hands free.
What's one way we could improve this event? I think it was fantastic.
Tough question, right?
Oh, it was wonderful. More people.
More people. Hopefully you want to also do that. All right. Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Longer sessions. There's never enough time. They always want it all the way in the back.
I tried.
Go ahead. Name one thing you learned. It was educational. Well, do you have anything specific that you heard today? Not really. It was all stuff you already knew. What? Okay.
try to pass it to them in the back. There's just. Engage. Involved. Name one way you plan to get involved.
I'm already involved with my group club, but I can't
Start branching out to other organizations. So I was just repeating what you said. You can't cheat now.
What's one way we could improve, what's one way we could improve this? I feel like we should get more teams involved. In the last session, we talked about trauma. I feel like they were talking about how they were trying to get adults prepared to deal with teen trauma. I feel like teens can also be influenced by other teams and function out with trauma. Reduction to not only adults. I feel like
So getting more teams involved. All right. Thank you. Pass it to two more people. Somebody put your hands up. You got 3 hands. Or just toss it to somebody. Somebody's going to answer.
Name one thing you learned. I learned that there's a lot of hope right now in East St. Louis to make things better. And it was really impressive to see what was going on.
One more.
I wanted to answer the same one he answers. Name one thing you learned.
One thing you learned, all right?
I hate to say it, I learned about 100 things in one session. We did an exercise around there that I've gone to conferences all over the place, and in 15 minutes, based on what I do as a teacher, I learned so many things as you talk about educating young people in or out of school.
Okay, so you learned a bunch of things in the
Bunch-
out-of-school time.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. Raise your hand if you heard something today that you did not know before. All right, that's what we want to see. We want to make sure we're informing the community. There's so much work going on. We narrowed it down to 4 topics for 4 sessions, and then we narrowed that down. In each session, they narrowed down 1 or 2 pieces of work that they do, but believe they're doing way more than that, right? So there was a lot of information to get out. There's never enough time for these things, but that's why we plan on having 2 a year. So somebody said more people involved. Who here can say, I'll come back and I'll bring somebody with me? Okay, because that's how we get more people in this room, right? So we talked about out of school time. How are we helping make sure that kids have safe and fun places to go outside of that school time, right? Talked about trauma and how do we know what it is? How do we help young people who are going through it? We talked about food justice. How do we make sure that we have quality food available in our community? And we talked about early childhood to make sure our kids get the right start, right? So those are the topics that we covered today. If you weren't able to make a session, but you want to know a little bit about what they talked about, there are handouts on that middle table. So on your way out, you can kind of skim them and see if there's any information you're interested in taking home, all right? So who has heard the phrase, pictures or it didn't happen? Have you guys not heard that phrase? Okay, so if you took any pictures today, or if you just posted about today, checked in, I hope you checked into this event on Facebook if you have a Facebook account. Say a little something about what you did today. Tag Eastside Alliance. So first of all, when you go on Facebook, like Eastside Alliance, like their page if you don't. And then whenever you post something about today, tag them, because we didn't put a hashtag together. That's the one thing I would improve about this event. You gotta have a hashtag, right? So instead of that, just make sure you tag Eastside Alliance. I think those are my, just real quick, evaluations. Make sure you fill those out. Those are those reddish, pinkish pages in the back of your program and your folder. Make sure you turn those into the table right out here on your way out, before or after you grab a slice of pizza, okay? So now I'm going to introduce one of our Eastside Alliance leaders, Wyberta Granger.
Hello, everybody. Well, y'all know me, I'm from the church community, so if I don't use my notes, I will be talking about everything and be off point. So in order for us to stay in time, I'm going to use these notes today. I want to again just say good afternoon to each of you. I am so honored to be here and be a part of Eastside Alliance. What makes Eastside Alliance different to me is for the first time in a long time, I'm working with a group of community members. And what I see is that we've put aside our individual goals, and we've come together and we're focusing now on a few goals that we can all find in common. And so for that reason, we've been able to do great things in a short amount of time because we're working on some common goals that we all have in common. And this has been one of the best experiences of my life. Now, I'm going to just challenge you all here today to make sure to get involved in this project. And many of you all are already involved. But what I like particularly about this particular project is because it is community-led. For the first time in a long time, we're seeing community members get involved in doing the work and not having someone to come into the community and do the work for us. Now, many of us will say that we are a part of this community, and we have been, and so I'm glad to see each of you here today. In order for me to stay on task, I want Alonzo and Shantae talked a little bit earlier about the history and the roadmap of Eastside Alliance, and if you would just thank them again for the work that they do. The next thing we did, this committee, I was a part of the executive committee with Eastside Alliance, and we figured out very quickly that we needed to do some more work. And so we're now changing from the executive committee form, and we're moving into a stewardship group. And the stewardship group is where you get a chance to get involved. Now you would have a blue page in your folder. Everybody got that blue page. Mine is white because I didn't have blue paper. And you should have a blue page in your folder. If you would pull that out for me. What I want to quickly go over, my role is to talk about what the stewardship group is and what it is not. So there are some key things I want to just highlight with the stewardship committee. Their core functions is that you would help, as being a part of the stewardship committee, you would help us put together events like this. That's one of the things that you would do. The next thing that you would do is to ensure that the staff are playing their roles and doing their jobs well. And then you would also be making sure that we have community champions. You would be an advocate for our youth. How many of you are really concerned about the youth here in East St. Louis and their future being brighter? And if you join the stewardship committee, that would be one way that you can make sure that the work that is going toward our youth is done by them and with them. In essence, the Eastside Alliance Stewardship Committee has been created to support all of you in the work that you're doing. Again, I want you to just look at this blue sheet, and as you go through that blue sheet, you'll find that in the early 2019, we're going to be sending out forms where you can nominate someone. So if you know someone that would be great at doing this work, we ask that you nominate them, or if you yourself would like to be a part of doing that work, then we ask that you would sign up today. We encourage you to, again, just be a part of this service. Again, thank you for your time. At this time, I'm going to call one of the ground workers and trailblazers for this movement. This is not a moment, this is a movement. And Ms. Diane is going to come along with our executive director, Evan. He's going to come at this time. Will you all do me a favor and help welcome them? They have been in this place since the very beginning. So the thing about this lady, she loves this community and she works very hard. And it has been an honor, Diane, just to be working alongside you. I admire you so much and the great work that you do for our city. Thank you. It is you. You too, Evan.
You also have another sheet, that's a yellow sheet that we're going to go over and pull out. So I also want to just express my gratitude for everyone who's here and all the folks who played a role behind the scenes who are probably gravitating to over there. Can you give a shout out to everyone that organizes this event? So we're going to be brief because pieces outside, and you guys have devoted a lot of time today. Earlier today, and then what Vivetta said, is we talked a lot about how does this movement sustain? Who makes the decisions around this movement? And one of the things important to know is that it's as distributed as possible. There is a constellation of many different coalitions in this community. The Early Childhood Coalition, the Out of School Time Coalition. There are a multitude of coalitions looking at violence and crime. Those are where decisions happen. What we do is we try to look at the whole constellation and see what are all the moving parts and how can we build better connections and make it work. And outside, we reference the roadmap. I know some people grab copies of it. There's still some copies left. And it's online. It has over the 180 strategies. This is a reflection of what so many of you in this room is doing and have been doing to create change for young people. And this is where the work happens. And so while we've said for a while on East Side of the Line, you're all a part of it, people still ask, well, how do I become a part of it? And okay, if I'm a part of it, what does it mean? What am I accountable for? Those are questions that have kept coming up. And so the stewardship group, which has been primarily previously called the executive committee, have been wrestling with those questions. And the yellow sheet says, if you want to be a part of this movement, this is what we're asking you to commit to. There are 3 core principles that we speak out. One is resident engagement and leadership. The other is collaborative principles and practices. And the third is public accountability and continuous improvement. All right, I got them. So they're wordy. They're wordy for a reason. We wanted to be very clear on what we meant. So I'll give you the time to read how we define each of those. But that is the basis of what we want organizations to be held accountable to, what we want individuals to be held accountable to. So we want to say, if someone wants to show that they are part of this movement, we have a commitment form. Also, it's a white piece of paper in your back. If you flip over the yellow side, there are commitments that organizations need to make. And I'm going to walk through it real quickly with you. One is about cultivating resident leadership. We want every organization to really assess how are they engaging residents, not only as volunteers, but how are they part of your staff? How are they part of the board that governs your decisions? We want everyone to look at how are residents involved in the work that you do and begin developing strategies to make sure it's more representative. The other piece around collaboration, as it was said earlier, it's easy to say, hard to do. Over the next year, we're going to be providing a variety of tools for you to take advantage of to help you work together. So we're asking you to commit as organizations to working better together. The other piece is about sharing information, the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly. We need to be communicating more what is going on, what's working, what's not, and so that there's more awareness of what you learned today, and sharing where you're challenged so we can find those who can help make that difference. And lastly, with the organizations that are in the room, all of you have decisions that are made around professional development of your staff, of your board. We want you to be investing your time in developing more competency and skills in those 3 areas I mentioned. So that's what we're asking organizations to commit to. But we're not just saying you in this room sign a form today if you're representing an organization. The organization side says check that you are interested in pursuing because we want you to bring this to your boards. We want this to be board level commitment to supporting you as staff doing this work to be a part of this movement. So that's a snapshot of what we're asking our call for commitment on organizations and coalitions. Diane's going to cover what's the call for how individuals can commit.
Thank you, Evan. Just want to say that it has been such an honor and a privilege to be a part of this movement and to work with such committed and passionate people like Roger and Alonzo and all of those who have been a part of this. So I am very grateful to be here today and grateful for all of you to be here today. If you look at your yellow sheet, it's kind of scriptural in that the last shall be first, because we're looking at the individual commitment, which is at the top of your yellow sheet. I would like those of you who have children in School District 189 to please stand up. And you who are attending school in School District 189, would you please stand up? Now I would like those of you who live within the East Side Line, the School District 189 footprint, whether or not you have children, to stand up, please. This is us. This is East Side Line. These are our children. And no matter what organizations, institutions, activities that our children engage in, every night they come home to us. And 24/7, they are in our hearts and our responsibility. So this is our work, this is our movement, and this individual commitment is for each and every one of us. And it follows the same basic core beliefs that the organization and coalition commitments follow. So if you look at your paper, we're going to learn, connect, and engage. We are going to take the responsibility to be informed and to share that knowledge and information with others. Just like you already committed today to come to the next forum and bring a friend. We're going to invest ourselves in learning and gaining our skills, and we are going to advance the roadmap in whichever strategy or way that we can. And so on the white sheet, on the side that says individual commitment, that is all spelled out, and you have a chance today to check whether or not you need a little more time to think about it or that you're ready to commit. And so we would like each of you to make sure that you fill this out and leave it today. So what I'd like to do is end with, you young people, I know you can help me with this. If I say, we are, and you're all going to shout back, East Side Alliance. So are you ready? We are
East Side Alliance.
We are
East Side Alliance.
We are
East Side Alliance.
And if anything is going to change, if there's going to be more positive outcomes for our kids, it is we that are going to do it. So thank you.
All right. So we are closing out. I'm going to invite Alonzo and Shantae to come back up and close us out. All of you in the breakout sessions had an opportunity to find out about a collaboration you can get involved in right now here locally. I just want to call out, in addition, we have a couple of tables outside of efforts you can get together that's taking a regional view. Chris is over here with Alive and Well. If you want to learn about the trauma work that's happening across the community, you can talk to him. And then John in the middle is looking for membership to be a part of a steering committee that's statewide, looking at, it's called Start to Finish, looking at policy issues that affect our entire Creative to Career continuum. Diane has something else.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to Parents United for Change. So especially those of us as individuals who want to make a commitment, stand up, Parents United for Change. They have that great success with impact and outcomes for you. So get involved with them.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. I know the piece is getting cold, and I personally want to be. So, I just wanted to recap from my own experience, like what I've endured while being here. I really enjoyed this time. Me, honestly, I've been involved in East Side Line a little under a year, and I am gaining so much information, and to know that we have so many individuals who care about the progress of East St. Louis, it touches my heart and our youth. It's really important because they are our future. So I leave you all with this. It's a charge, basically. If we're going to continue to do this and work towards improving the outcomes for our youth, make sure y'all engage other people. Like this, it starts with us. we are people. We have to make the change. We are the people. So let's commit to making a change. Let's commit to involving others. Let's make a change.
All right. Let's give it up for something. Class of 2005. Well, again, thank you all so very much. You know, in any speech one-on-one, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them, right? So we told you that, we're going to inform you about, what East Side of Line is all about. We gave you some examples of the work that's going on there. And we got you to make somewhat of a commitment to be involved. So we appreciate, again, the time and effort that you put forth today to help make a difference in the lives of children. I'll leave you with one quote, and it comes from a very famous person, Frederick Douglass. He's getting a lot of attention, remember? And he said this, and leave with this. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. We are here to build strong children. Thank you. Have a great day. Hey, Phil, I talked to you.